G'day gamers, Ranger Tony here with another Pathfinder Kingmaker build video. So today we're going to have a look at a ranged animal domain Herald Caller summoning Evoker Cleric build. Yeah, there's a lot in that. Let's dive on in. I have chosen a race already, as you can see. Asima female. No real reason for that. We're going with Asima just because we're going to pick one that gives us bonuses to Wisdom and Dex, or Wisdom and Con, I can't remember which, we'll work it out in a sec. So we want a Cleric. Now, we're doing the Herald Caller, as we said. So, unlike Crusaders or Paladins, who charge headlong into battle in the name of their patrons' deities, Herald Callers are adept at calling powerful outsiders to aid their brethren in battle. So what does that mean? Well, it means primarily you are a summoner. You are designed to summon animals, monsters, whatever, to help you in combat. So we get a single... Well, you choose a deity, naturally. We only get a single domain. Don't get two like a normal cleric does, just the one. We can detect magic like all clerics, and then we are a dedicated summoner. So, a Herald Caller depends on summoned allies to overcome her foes, which affords her little experience with the martial pursuits typical of other clerics, and a narrower spiritual focus. A Herald Caller can choose only one domain from her deity's list of domains rather than the normal two, and she doesn't gain proficiencies with medium armor or shields. So light armor, no shields, which means this is the perfect build to go ranged with. We also can channel stored spell energy into summoning spells that we haven't prepared ahead of time. Now, when I first saw this, I thought this meant that rather than the default cleric's channel energy ability, which allowed us to convert any stored spell to a healing spell, I thought that we were going to be, like a druid, able to convert any of our stored spells to summoning spells. But you can do both. So not only can you convert any of your spells to a summoning spell of the same level, but you can also convert any of your spells to a healing spell at any point in time. So originally, when I was going to build this, I was going, when it came to spell selection, I was going to be actually learning a lot of healing spells, because I thought I wasn't going to be able to convert my other spells to healing spells, but you don't need to do that. We'll see that later on. For now, we just need to know that we are still able to channel energy, positive or negative, depending on how we choose. So we can use that to heal an entire group at any time. But we can also take any of our spells at any time and convert them either to a summoning spell or a healing spell of the same level, which makes you extremely versatile, right? Even more so than a druid. So let's continue. We are going to choose, well, the two that would work well are Lawbringer, because you get Constitution and Wisdom. The advantage I see of Lawbringer is that you get a Hold Person spell once per day, and I like Hold Person. It's a good spell. But because we're going for a ranged build, we're going to go for the Plume Kith. So this gives us racial bonuses to Dex and Wisdom, bonuses to Mobility and Athletics, and we can use Invisibility once per day, which will still be useful to you. Deity Selection. We are going for the animal domain, and I believe there's only two. Gozra, who is like the god of nature, well, actually god of the sky and goddess of nature in the same, I don't know, It's weird. Or Erastil. And in this case, we're going to choose Erastil because he gives us the longbow, and that's what we want as a weapon. We are definitely going to channel positive energy here. We want to be able to heal with our channel abilities, not harm. And then we said the domain we wanted was Animal Domain. Now, what this gives us, at 4th level, we get an Animal Companion, which is really good. And then, as part of our Herald Caller abilities, at 4th level, we gain Augmented Summoning, which gives a +4 bonus to Strength and Constitution for any summoned creatures. And then at +8, we get Superior Summoning, which, if we have a summoning spell that is going to summon more than one, so 2 or more, it will summon an extra creature for us at the same time. So we are able to summon more. So once you get to 8th level, anytime you summon, you always want to choose the option that's going to summon 2 or more, so that you get a 3rd one for free. Okay, so that's our heritage, etc. Skills, ability points. Pretty standard sort of cleric build here. This is going to be done similar to what I did with my War Domain Crusader cleric, in that we're not going to take wisdom beyond 16 to begin with, and as we go up in levels we will increase that. For the meantime, we're going to go to 18 on dex, and then to give us the best to hit chance with our bow, we're going to go to 14 and then 14 with strength and constitution, giving us a few more hit points and a little bit of damage with our composite longbows. Skills, again, you're really best off using any of your wisdom-based ones. As the main character, I recommend going Persuasion, Perception, and Lord Religion. You can go with any of this. You can go with Mobility if you want, but I don't see that as being a huge advantage. So, what are we going to pick now as far as feats? So this is going to be a sort of dual build with feats. It's going to be partly, well, almost a triple build, really. There is some feats we want to get to do with our bow so that we can hit more often and do a few more shots. But then we're going to go and get some spell focus for evocation, because the big damaging spells as a cleric, if you're not playing a necromancer, that is, the big damaging spells are all evocation spells. So we're going to throw a few of some feats in there to help with that. The idea being that in combat we're going to use our bow, see opportunities to do damage with our big evocation spells, but then also be able to summon any allies that we need at any time, and finally be able to do a bit of healing. So you're going to be able to do a lot of different things with this. The hardest thing you're going to have is choosing what to do when, and really that's up to you. So we're going to take point blank shot initially. Oops, helps if you actually click in the box. We have choices of lawful, neutral, lawful good, or neutral good. I'm going to pick lawful good, just because I'm in that mood today. I would often pick neutral good. I don't generally play lawful neutral though. Let's continue on leveling up. See how we go. So, at level 3, we are going to take Precise Shot. Getting our second level spells there. At level 4, we're going to take Animal Companion. If you've seen any of my videos, I like Smilodon, I like Leopard, I like Bear. We're going to take the leopard for this one because the portrait of this is a Asimir looking woman riding a big black cat. isn't black, it's, so we want to keep buffing wisdom here, and that's what we're going to do the whole way through, basically. And so we're now getting our augmented summoning, +4 strength and constitution bonus for any summoned creatures, which is really nice. Now, we could continue with doing the rest of our build, but frankly, we want to take Boon Companion here. Soon as we get our Animal Companion, we're at 4th level, and he's at 1st level. And that's going to make him just really hard to manage. So we do this, he now matches our level, and he's going to survive a lot longer. Does slow us down a little bit with the progressions of any other feats that we want, but it's a necessary evil. Same thing you have to do with rangers. So level 7, we're going to take Rapid Shot now, which actually isn't recommended, but we want to. This is about as far as we really want to go at the moment with our bow, but getting an extra attack off is a little bit better than the weapon focus, which gives us a little bit better to hit. At the moment, we're relying on our summons and our Animal Companion to do a lot of the damage for us. We are just throwing out arrows and spells to help. So that's the way we're building that. One more point into wisdom, 18 now, so we can go up to level 8 spells, which is great. Now, superior summoning. So as I said, each time you cast a summoning spell that conjures more than one creature, add 1 to the total number of creatures summoned. Very, very useful, as long as you remember to always, each of the summoning spells can summon either one of a particular animal, or I think it's 1 to 3 of another group, or 1d4 plus 1 of the other group. So just never pick the first one. Always do second or third, so that there is a good chance you get that extra 1 to help you. Even though those second and third groups are always less powerful than the first, if you always do it that way, it will work much better for you. I'll show you in a little bit. Level 9. Do I click properly? So, what I'm recommending now is spell focus in evocation. We've already got a couple of okay evocation spells, but we start to get more now. In particular, we get Flame Strike, which is the first of the really big spells. And so we've just got a buff to that. We've basically just made it harder for them to save against it, and we will buff that up again later. So that was level 9. We're going to take greater spell focus in evocation now, which bumps it up even more, making it even harder for them to resist our spells of evocation. And we get more here. The big ones, Blade Barrier, Cold Ice Strike. They're the 2 main big evocation ones there, I think, if I remember rightly. But we're going to go through all the spells that I recommend later. Wisdom +1, now at 19, so we've got access to all the spells now. We're going to keep bumping it though. You could put some points into Dex, but there's plenty of ways to buff your Dex as the game goes on. So, level 13, I'm recommending going to clustered shots now. So what this does is you make, if you're using multiple attacks with your bow against the same target, you shoot them all very, very close to each other, and that basically overcomes any damage reduction, which is really useful. So basically damage reduction only applies once rather than for each shot. Actually, the way the game calculates it is it does damage reduction on the first hit only and then none after that. Not that it matters, but... Okay, so at level 15, we are now going to do many shot. And some more spells there. That would have been 8th level, I think. One more point into wisdom, taking us to 20, plus 5 bonus now. All comes in very handy. A very nice will and fortitude save there overall. At 17, we're going to finally take weapon focus in longbow. Up until this point, I didn't feel it was that necessary to take the weapon focus. We weren't worried as much. I mean, hitting was nice, yes, but we've got so many different options for how to do damage to them that I felt it was more important to get the other things working. If you wanted to move that earlier in the list, you certainly could. That was just my preference for this build, weighing everything up. And then level 19, look, there's so many different things you can take here, but I don't see Deadly Aim being that useful because it adds a penalty to hit. Hammer the Gap really only adds a couple of extra points of damage, so it's not that great. Improve Critical. Longbows have a really bad critical rate as it is, so I don't see it. I mean, it does help a little bit, but I feel something like Extra Channel is probably a good option here. It's certainly something you could have taken way earlier if you wanted to push things back. But, you know, if you want to use something different, or if you want to use a teamwork feat, go ahead. That's perfectly fine. And we'll put our last point into wisdom. It doesn't really matter where you put it at this point, because you're not got enough points to get another bonus on the modifiers anywhere, so you just go with what you got, and you don't get anything on level 20. So that's our build. We have our leopard. Now let me show you this. So we've only got 2 spells prepared at the moment. We've got a bless and we've got a shield of faith. But watch what happens when I turn the tutorial off. Watch what happens when I go up here. I now have 2 different things. I can do summon monster 1, which allows me to summon an extra planar dog, or I can go cure light wounds. So I can do either, and I've tested this. It works on every single level that you can choose to either use the summon spell or use the heal spell. In every level, it's really useful. So let's have a look in our spellbook and let's see what I'm recommending we take. At level 1, we want our domain spell Magic Fang. That allows us to buff our animal companion. Really nice, good option there. My recommendation for all of these is a couple of bless, a couple of divine favor to buff your weapon. So bless will buff the whole team, divine favor will buff your weapon, and then a couple of shield of faith. Now, as you're at first level, you might take one of each of those, and as you get extra levels, just sort of fill them out as you like. Shield of Faith gives you some AC bonuses, some armor class bonuses. But a lot of the other stuff here isn't all that great. You're not going to get any bonus from Divine Favor as far as your evocation goes, because there's no save throw required for that. Level 2, Hold Animal. Yep, that's going to be really nice to, like a whole person does, to hold an animal. There were times when I've played that I would really like that. I'd like whole person to be able to do that as well. Arrow of Law is a good evocation spell that we can get early, and that once we get to level 9, our spell focus will allow this to do some extra damage, so we'll get a couple of those. Sound Burst also does a good bit of damage, so we'll get one of those, and then we'll get a couple of Whole Person. Now, as I said, when I first start off, I would probably take, say, 1 Arrow of Law and a couple of Whole Person as my spells when I first get second level spells, depending on how many you get, and then gradually go up from there. Now, we're not taking any of the summoning spells here. I also haven't included any of the elementals, mostly because I don't feel that they work all that well. You can't convert your spells to an elemental summoning. You can only use summon monsters. But also, most of the elemental summoning, at least the early ones, only summon a single elemental, which means your superior summoning, which allows you to summon 1 extra, won't work with that. So you're better off using the summon monster. And you can see here, this one summons either an extra planar wolf or 1 to 3 extra planar dogs. So you want to use the 1 to 3 extra planar dogs, so that if you're lucky and it summons 2, you'll get 3. Right? That's simple. But yes, we don't need to memorize those. We can convert any of these to summon monster anytime, and of course we can convert any of these to cure moderate wounds. That's just how it works. Level 3, Dominate Animal, which is sort of the same as a charm. It's basically you charming that animal so that it comes and fights on your side briefly, even if it was originally fighting you. There is a save against it, but anyway. Then I recommend, out of all of these ones, Prayer is a good buff for the group, so I would recommend taking a couple of those. Searing Light is an okay damage dealer, and it's an evocation, so I recommend taking a couple of those. And then Magic Vestments is a nice buff for you or anybody in the party. You could even use it on your animal companion, so that works well. You will definitely have your animal companion by the time you get to here. Level 4, Summon Nature's Ally 4. So this is the first of these spells that we get, and it summons either a Diabor, 1 to 3 leopards, or 1 to 4 plus 1 giant frogs. In this case, get the 1 to 4 plus 1 giant frogs, because then you're guaranteed to get basically 1 to 4 plus 2. Because that plus 1 on there means you'll always be at least 2, so you'll get your 3rd or 4th or whatever it is. You'll get your extra 1 probably. Okay, so Summon Nature's Ally. What other ones would I get? Protection from communal, protection from energy communal. No, am I looking at the wrong one? No, there it is. Yes, there. So I would get a couple. Whoops, just a couple of those. Don't go nuts. Freedom of movement, a couple of those, and oh yes, restoration. Just be aware that you need diamond dust for that to work. But apart from that, those are pretty good choices there. Protecting the whole party from different types of energy, allowing one person to break free of the influence of any sort of paralysis or web or slow or anything like that, and finally restoring, getting rid of any sort of level drains and other negative effects. Right, level 5, Beast Shape 3. And this is the only one of these that you get, but it allows you to turn into a large bear. Lots of advantages. I don't know how often I would use it, but it is useful. And it's at this point that we get our really big evocation spells, and it's probably at this point, if you remember when I was pointing out before, this is when you actually take spell focus and evocation, is at the point you get this level of spells. So we definitely want a couple of flame strikes, just two. And then what we're going to look at is a couple of constricting coils, because they help this. It's basically a hold monster type of situation. And then Burst of Glory, because it does, it's an enchantment, it's a buff to the entire party. So those are my recommendations there. Level 6, Summon Nature's Ally 6, similar to the other one again. A Smilodon, 1-3 Manticores, 1-4+1 Diabors. Good options there. I recommend Blade Barrier, because that's an evocation and it's a really nice spell. Does a blade, it lasts for 1 minute per level, so it's quite a while. Sorry, it does a line of these things, so if you get it right, you can put like a barrier in front of your party that they have to go through, or if the enemy is already lined up, you can drop it on top of them. Chains of Light is the next sort of hold person, the next root spell, I think some people call them. Couple of those will be useful. And then Cold Ice Strike is another big evocation spell. If you're evil, you could go down the Hellfire Ray, but of course this build you can't really do as evil. So yeah. Level 7, Summon Nature's Ally 7. Mastodon, 1-3 Smilodons, 1-4+1 natural Manticores. Again, good options. Lots of things to be summoning. Level 7, Holy Word. Couple of Holy Words. So, Air of Effect spell works on all non-good creatures in the area. It's an evocation, so you're going to be buffed to make it harder for them to save against it. And then I recommend a couple of Jolting Portents, because again, evocation spell, they can't save against it. And that is just one creature within range, but it's not a bad spell. Level 8, then Nature's Ally 8, Natural Nereid, 1-3 Mastodons, 1-4+1 Smilodons. Really good spell again. And then again, we're going for the big evocations. A couple of Firestorm, got carried away there, and a couple of Storm Bolts. Firestorm, you know, it's basically a fireball by any other name, except anything within it keeps burning until they make a save throw. And Storm Bolts, it's a big lightning blast in one area and potentially stuns the opponents. And again, all evocation spells, you've got bonuses there, so you can make it hard for them to resist those effects. Last but not least, level 9, Summon Nature's Ally 9, 1 Hamadryad, 1-3 Nereids, 1-4+1 Mastodons. Really good. There's really only a couple of spells here that you would want. You can convert anything to mass heals, you can convert anything to summon monsters, and unless you really want to do necromancy, I would recommend a couple of Overwhelming Presence and a couple of Polar Midnights. So the Overwhelming Presence is a really good one, forces all the creatures that fail to prostrate themselves and cower in fear because they feel that you're a divine presence. And Polar Midnight plunges an area into darkness and cold, and they take cold damage, dexterity damage, stuff like that. So that's it. That's the build of the Ranged Animal Domain Herald Caller Summoning Evoker Cleric build. I hope you enjoyed this. There's a lot to play around with this build. There's lots of little ways that you can change what I've put in there to do things subtly different. But I think it should be a fun way to go. As I said, you got a lot of options, lots of different ways of accomplishing things. As you can see here with all of these spells, you know, all of them have the option to summon or heal. Every single spell works that way. It is going to be a lot of fun and a lot of options for what you're going to do. In fact, you're probably going to spend most of your time deciding exactly which spell to use next, and whether you want to nuke them, whether you want to summon something to tear them apart, or whether you want to heal something. You've got a lot of choices there, all from a single spell option. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, join me for the next video. I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye.